Shri Rupa Manjari Pada Say more Bhajana Pujana Say more Pranatana Say more Abharana Say more Jivanera Jivana Say more Rasanidhi Say more Vanshasiddhi Say more Vedaratarama Say more Vedaratarama Say Vrata Setapa Say more Mantra Japa Say more Dharmakarama Say more Dharmakarama Anukula Habbe Vidhi Sepade Hoibe Siddhi Nirakibo Edwinayane Say Rupa Madhuri Rashi Prana Kuvalai Shashi Prapulita Hobe Nishidine Prapulita Hobe Nishidine Tua Darshana Ahi Garale Jaralodehi Chirodina tapita jivana. Chirodina tapita jivana. Haha rupa korodoya deho more padachaya. Haha rupa korodoya deho more padachaya. Narottama loelo sarana. Narottama loelo sarana. Shri Rupa Manjari Pada She Mora Sampada. Say more bhajana pujana. Say more bhajana pujana. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Good evening, everyone. Hare Krishna. How is everyone? Fantastic? Everyone's fantastic. Good. Why are you fantastic? Because of Krishna Katha. That's a kind of drink? Krishna Katha? Everyone had a good day? Where are you all coming from now? Home? Office? Office? How's everyone at the office? It's okay? Somehow everything's okay. Things go on. In the scriptures it is said, Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam Eko Bahunam Yovidadhati Kaman. There's one supreme supplier who's taking care of every living entity. So things should be pretty much okay. And if there's any anomalies, it's our fault. That's also nice to know, because there are laws of nature, and if we live within them in a certain way, then we can expect a certain result. Of course, it's complicated because there's a continuum of actions and reactions that take place over many lifetimes. The process of devotional service is particularly beneficial to everyone. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, Narada Muni, this great sage, is explaining that the process of devotional service is chikitsitam. It's remedial measure. It remedies any of the difficulties that one has, or the kind of unrest that one has because of the contact with the material world. Maybe the gain's just a little bit high, just a tad down. So today is a special day. It's the disappearance day of Srila Rupa Goswami. Srila Rupa Goswami was a direct disciple of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago, on whom this movement is founded. He started the Krishna consciousness movement 500 years ago in West Bengal. Of course, the Krishna consciousness movement has been going on since a time immemorial in a broader sense, but the very particular process that we're following, and it is a particular process, the Gaudiya Vaishnav Sampradaya started from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu about 500 years ago, a little more now. And as in many spiritual movements, the leader, in this case Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, has disciples whom he entrusted the teachings, with whom he entrusted the teachings, and who carried them forward. And in our sampradaya, or lineage, spiritual lineage from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there are famous names of disciples of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Two are Srila Rupa Goswami and Srila Sanatana Goswami. Today just happens to be a special day because it's the disappearance day of Srila Rupa Goswami. He reasons ill who tells that Vaishnavas die for Vaishnavas die to live, and living try to spread the holy name around. There's a way in which whether a Vaishnav is appearing or disappearing, it's auspicious. It's inauspicious for us because we feel separation, but that means he or she is going somewhere else to give the teachings of Krishna. In any case, on these particular days, we remember certain Vaishnavas for their particular teachings and contribution. And remembering Srila Rupa Goswami today is especially our object of the object of this class. Prabhupada writes in one of his purports, Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada elaborated the teachings of the Lord with profound knowledge of revealed scriptures and authoritative references from various Vedic literatures. Srila Srinivas Acharya describes in his prayers to the 6 Goswamis that they were all highly learned scholars, not only in Sanskrit, but also in foreign languages such as Persian and Arabic. They very scrutinizingly studied all the Vedic scriptures in order to establish the cult of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu on the authorized principles of Vedic knowledge. The present Krishna consciousness movement is also based on the authority of Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. We are therefore generally known as Rupanugas, or followers in the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. It is only for our guidance that Srila Rupa Goswami prepared his book, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is now presented in the form of Nectar of Devotion. Can I have one? Persons engaged in the Krishna consciousness movement may take advantage of this great literature and be very solidly situated in Krishna consciousness. Yes, Srinivasacharya. Srinivasacharya wrote his prayers, which some of you are familiar with. He talks about the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan. He starts off by saying, Krishnot Kirtan Gahana Nartana Paro Premanjana Bonidi Dhira Dhira Jana Priyo Priyakaro Nirmatsara Pujito. That they were engaged Krishnot Kirtana. They were engaged in Krishna Kirtan. So that what we're doing is following in their footsteps, as Prabhupada just mentioned, we're Rupanugas. The process that Rupa Goswami has taught us is in this book, The Nectar of Devotion. This is a summary study of Rupa Goswami's original book called Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. This book will be coming out from the BBT also, because it needs a little editing. It's done by Bhanu Swami, and the commentaries from Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and Jiva Goswami are in this book, but it definitely needed editing. So that's being done. And this book, Prabhupada came out with early on, around 1970. I gave a summary study of this book because it's so important. And everyone who's interested in devotional service should read this book. So then Srinivasacharya says, Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipano Shadharma Samstapako Lokanam Hitakarano Tribhuvane Manyo Sharanyakaro. Which means that the Goswamis, headed by Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami, studied all the revealed scriptures, and they took their essence and compiled them into literatures to give a foundation to the sampradaya of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipano. They were expert, nipuno, sunipuno, like spiritual geniuses in connecting the Shastra in such a way that it could be clearly understood. You can connect all the dots. Excuse the phrase, but it's a way in which one can understand very clearly the connection of the Krishna consciousness movement and the teachings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to its Vedic roots. And then they established the Sampradaya. So Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami gave great literary contributions. And the process that they taught was bhakti. So Rupa Goswami, in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, gives the Parivas Sutra, or the most essential verse which describes what is bhakti. There's a lot of there are a lot of presentations of bhakti nowadays around the world. If you go to a local yoga studio, you'll find that they have classes on bhakti. And there are bhakti fests, and there are many different kinds of... But if you ask somebody, what is bhakti exactly? They may not have a very defined answer. They may have some sense that it's a path of devotion, or that it's a path of chanting, or something like that. But Rupa Goswami gives the very important verse, Anyabhilashita shunyam jnana karmanyadavritam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktiruchite. So he gives a definition of bhakti in his verse, which is in the first chapter of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, verse number 11. Anyabhilashita shunyam. It means that to be engaged in bhakti proper, one should be free of any material motivation, no material desires. Anyabhilashitan shunyam, and what does that include? Jnana karmanyadavritam. That means desires for jnana, which is knowledge leading to liberation from this world, karma, or ways in which to manipulate the world in order to get ahead. Gana karmanyadavritam anukulyena. And it's service, an activity, a cultivation that's favorable to Krishna. Anukulyena krishnanushilanam. Anushilanam means that anu means to follow. It follows in the footsteps of the previous teachers. Anushil, the verb shil in Sanskrit, it has the sense of cultivation, both internal cultivation in the mind and also external cultivation in the way that one uses one's senses, the 6 senses including the mind. And they're used favorably in service to the Lord. And Rupa Goswami enumerates the various processes of devotional service in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, 64 separate angas of bhakti. And of course there are 9 principles of bhakti, beginning with Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Parasevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atmanivedanam. It doesn't begin with those are the 9. But it begins hearing, chanting, remembering, praying. These are a progression of basic principles. And then there are these 64 angas of bhakti, which are various activities that one performs in the realm of this positive service favorable to the senses of Krishna. Anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktiruchite. So this is what is called bhakti, what is described by Rupa Goswami. And the objects of bhakti, he describes devotional service in practice, and then he describes bhava bhakti, or devotional service in love of God. So the goal of the practice is to develop this bhava, or this feeling, this deep love for Krishna. And according to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who's the one who taught Rupa Goswami, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kabunoy Shavanadi Shuddha Chitte Karer Uddhay. That is, nothing external is needed. You don't need to add anything. It's already within you. It needs to be uncovered. Anavriti Shabdat Anavritti Shabda. The Vedanta Sutra says, by spiritual sound, the essence of who you are and your ultimate self will be revealed by spiritual sound. And similarly, in the verse I just quoted from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema Sadhya Kapunoi Shravanadi Shuddhachite, which means Shravanadi. Shravana means hearing it. Adi means in other processes. Shravanadi, Shuddhachite. Shuddhachite means the consciousness. The chitte means, when described in the Yoga Sutra, it means the mind and the heart, the seat of consciousness. It becomes purified by the process of hearing transcendental sound. Shravanadi Shuddhachite, Karu Odoy, and that which is inherent then becomes awakened within the heart, the pure love of God. So there is a clear definition of the process of devotional service by Rupa Goswami, and he gives the various processes very clearly in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, in the Nectar Devotion. Most of the practices that you'll see in any of the centers for Krishna consciousness, ISKCON is the International Society for Krishna Consciousness. It's meant to develop Krishna consciousness. There's a lot of other different kinds of consciousness that you can develop. What other kinds of consciousness can you develop? Huh? iPhone consciousness? Well, it depends what you have on your iPhone. I mean, you could always have Krishna on your iPhone. There's consciousness of what? What? Arlik?
Arlik is bikes and cars.
Bikes and cars? Yeah? Sports? There's the 49er faithful here in the Bay Area. This is a kind of Shraddha. Shraddha means where you put your heart, and there are flags for the 49ers, or faithful to the 49ers. 49er conscious, International Society for 49er Consciousness.
Dogs?
Dogs, yeah. I saw somebody the other day with the cause of proving to the world that pit bulls aren't really bad dogs, because some of them are sweet. Of course, people are a little nervous because every once in a while one of them tears somebody apart. But she has dedicated her life to proving to the world that pit bulls aren't dangerous. So that's another kind of consciousness. There's a lot of things that we can develop, we can direct our consciousness towards. Pardon? Nature? Nature Conservancy? Sure. So International Society for Krishna Consciousness is very specific. Some would say that's limited. Well, we say that actually, because Krishna is the source of everything, when you become conscious of Krishna, you simultaneously become conscious of all other entities and everything else in the universe connected. Because when you see the sun in the morning, then you see yourself as well. So Krishna is like the sun. He illuminates everything. By becoming conscious of Krishna, for instance, the Sri Upanishad says, one who sees everything in relation to the Supreme Lord and sees the Supreme Lord within everything never hates anything or any being, including pit bulls. One who always sees all living entities as spiritual sparks in quality one with the Lord becomes a true knower of things. What then can be illusion or anxiety for him? There's a way in which by becoming Krishna conscious, we're watering the root and we're satisfying all our needs for consciousness. So Rupa Goswami brings this up as the primary process to become Krishna conscious. So in his teaching, Rupa Goswami, well, first let me quote from one of Prabhupada's purports when he talks about the process of hearing and chanting. He writes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela 434, special natural appreciation of the descriptions of a particular pastime of Godhead indicates the constitutional position of a living entity. Adoration, servitorship, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love are the 5 primary relationships with Krishna. The highest perfectional stage of the conjugal relationship, enriched by many sentiments, gives the maximum relishable mellows to the devotee. Just bringing attention to the fact that there's a special natural appreciation of descriptions of a particular pastime of Godhead that take place when one hears spiritual sound vibration over a long period of time. So, again, in the teachings that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave to Rupa Goswami, I'm going to give a little bit of the background of the kind of devotional service or the direction that it goes from the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 22.160. Krishna smaran janam chasya preshnam nija samihitam tat tat katara tash chasau kuryad vasam vrajay sada. The devotee should always think of Krishna within himself and should choose a very dear devotee who is a servitor of Krishna in Vrindavan. One should constantly engage in topics about that servitor and his loving relationship with Krishna, and one should live in Vrindavan. If one is physically unable to go to Vrindavan, he should mentally live there. And a famous verse from the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Seva saraka rupena, siddha rupena chatrahi, tadbhava lipsuna karya, vraja lokanusarataha. The advanced devotee who is inclined to spontaneous loving service should follow the activities of a particular associate in Krishna's Vrindavan, of Krishna's in Vrindavan. I'll start over. The advanced devotee who is inclined to spontaneous loving service should follow the activities of a particular associate of Krishna's in Vrindavan. He should execute service externally as a regulative devotee, as well as internally from his self-realized position. Thus, he should perform devotional service both externally and internally. From the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 22.156 and 57, there are two processes by which one may execute this Raga Anuga Bhakti, external and internal. When self-realized, the advanced devotee externally remains like a neophyte and executes all the Shastra conjunctions, especially those concerning hearing and chanting. But within his mind, in his original purified self-realized position, he serves Krishna in Vrindavan in his particular way. He serves Krishna 24 hours a day, all day and night. Indeed, the humility of those two brothers could melt even stone. Okay, so now some of the history of Rupa Goswami, who was a very high-placed government official, and he happened to have heard Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speak and then became attracted to joining him. And he and his brother, Sanatana Goswami, wrote letters to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. I'd like to see those letters. But that they were written in great submission. So even though they were expert, as was pointed out, in many languages, and they had studied Bhagavatam extensively, even before meeting Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and they had billions of dollars. They were very wealthy. When they met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they were submissive, very submissive, so much so that they submitted themselves as the most fallen of all. They said, our case should take priority because we're the most fallen. You're here to help the most fallen. We should be top of the list. We're the lowest. This is a good way to approach a teacher in this mood. In fact, when they approached, they said, everyone says that we are very learned scholars, and I'm so ignorant that I accept that, but I don't even know who I am. So please tell me, who am I? Start from the very beginning. Please instruct me. And there's a description of, in the Madhya Lila, Chaitanya Charitamrita, It says, indeed, the humility of these two brothers, that's Rupa and Sanatan, could melt even stone. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, because I was very pleased with their behavior, I told them, although you are both very much exalted, you consider yourselves inferior, and because of this, Krishna will very soon deliver you. And Prabhupada gives a purport. Such are the qualifications of a pure devotee. Materially, one may be very opulent, experienced, influential, and educated. But if one still thinks himself lower than straw on the street, one attracts the attention of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or Lord Krishna. Although Maharaj Prataparudra was a king, he took up a broom to cleanse the road for Lord Jagannath's Rath chariot. Because of this humble service, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very pleased with the king, and for that reason the Lord embraced him. According to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's instructions, a devotee should never be puffed up by material power. He should know that material power is the result of one's past good activities and is consequently transient. At any moment, all one's material opulence can be finished. Therefore, a devotee is never proud of such opulence. He is always meek and humble, considering himself lower than a piece of straw. Because of this, the devotees are eligible to return home back to Godhead. So, this is how Rupa and Sanatan approached Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it didn't mean that they were able to get out of the situation they were in very quickly. Sometimes people who are very fortunate see Krishna consciousness or they read some Krishna conscious literature and then they suddenly realize, whoops, I've wasted my whole life. Now I'm in a hurry. I need to start this right away. Such was the case of Rupa and Sanatan Goswami. They had a lot of duties to do as prime ministers running a kingdom. And when they met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they decided, this is what we want to do. But it's not so easy to just get out of your situation. There is a way in which Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then instructed them. In fact, he wrote them a letter. I love this. Letters were going back and forth from Rupa and Sanatan and to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And this is the letter, famous letter, that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu sent to Rupa and Sanatan, who were ensconced in their government service and couldn't get out right away, although they were very eager to come and join Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Para Vyasanini nari vyagrapi griha karmasu tad eva swadyatatyantar navasanga rasayanam. The synonyms: para vyasanini, attached to another man; nari, a woman; vyagra, api, although zealous; griha karmasu, in household affairs; tat eva, that only; aswadayati, taste; anta, within herself; navasanga, of new association; rasa ayana, mellow. The translation to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's letter: if a woman is attached to a man other than her husband, she will appear very busy in carrying out her household affairs, but within her heart she is always relishing feelings of association with her paramour. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu told Rupa and Sanatan Goswami, gave this example, they should do their duty, what they have to do at the time, and in their hearts cultivate this attachment to Krishna and to the process of devotional service. Just like a woman who has an outside lover. She's working at home perfectly without being detected because she works even more conscientiously at home so no one will detect anything. So he gave that instruction. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu later on gave that instruction as well to Raghunath Das Goswami. He's also from a very wealthy family. He was just a young man, very young, when he became attracted to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. At that time in India, parents owned their children. Literally. And they couldn't just run away, they would be brought back. And Raghunath Das Goswami also was from a very wealthy family. And he tried to get away, and they would bring him back. His father had many servants who could come and grab him, pick him, find where he went, and bring him back. So he was trying to escape. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wrote him and told him, don't be like a madman. Just cooperate and go on and wait till Krishna gives you your opportunity. And later on, he took it. So this is an instruction that we can take to heart. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives this instruction, Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudyacha mayarpita mano buddhir mami vaishyatya samshayaha. That tasmat, therefore, this is a therefore, comes after a description Krishna gave about how one should prepare one's consciousness to be ready for transmigrating from this life to the next. The whole chapter in chapter 8 is about attaining the Supreme. So he said, be ready, because when you leave this body, whatever you're meditating on, however you're fixed in this life, whatever your bhava is, whatever your predominant emotion is, that you will attain. And then he gives an instruction that anyone can follow, hopefully. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanusmara yujacha. He said, remember me always, even as you're doing your work. So he's telling Arjuna, and he's a warrior. The battlefield is a pretty hectic place, to say the least. It's a scary place. People who go into battle, they generally become traumatized afterwards, or during the process. They become traumatized, and it's hard to recover from that because of the pressure there. So if you think things are bad at Intel or Oracle or anywhere else, think about a battlefield. And that's where this instruction is being given by Krishna to Arjuna. Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu. And in any situation, he says, always remember me. Do your work, he says, and at the same time remember me. Go on doing your work and at the same time remember me. And we may not be able to make a jailbreak from the situation we're in now, even if we come to the realization that I would like to be doing full-time devotional service, but maybe you can't break out of the situation you're in. Not likely. Doesn't matter. Stay in your situation and at the same time cultivate remembering Krishna in all circumstances and go through the different phases of your life, and Krishna will make arrangements for you to increase your service in ways that are can only be done by him. Of course, we have to take the opportunity as well. Great discoveries come only unto the prepared mind. So if we're always preparing ourselves and ready for opportunity, when it comes, we'll be able to see it and take advantage of it. This was the instruction Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave to Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. Internally cultivate, go on with your work, wait for the opportunity. That came finally to Rupa Goswami. Rupa Goswami, actually there was Dabir Kash and Sakara Malik were the names of Rupa and Sanatan. But when they met Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as customary when one accepts a spiritual master, one receives a name, spiritual name. So Dabir Kash, Sakara Malik became Rupa and Sanatana Goswamis by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's grace. Now Rupa met Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at Prayag for instruction. And one of the great treasures that we have are those recorded conversations. Wasn't recorded on an iPhone, but it's recorded in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. The conversation that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had, the teachings that he gave to Rupa Goswami, are written out very carefully by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, who was specifically deputed to write them down after the time of Rupa and Sanatana Goswami, at the time of Rupa and Sanatana. It's the authoritative teachings that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave to Rupa Goswami. They're very detailed and very important. And they come out in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, but you can read them and should read them and study them carefully in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. And as they came together for that teaching, now, as it's mentioned in the Shastra, the teacher has to be qualified and so does the student. If you get a student who's not qualified, somebody's not interested that much, has vested interest, and you start to teach something very deep, he or she will fall asleep. Because they have other things in their mind. Or they'll say, I don't have time for this right now, I got to go. If you ever had experience talking to someone and then if you bring out a Chaitanya Charitamrita and say, I forgot, I got to go. In fact, somebody told me who was living and writing in Vrindavan, said he wanted to be left alone, but because he was a senior devotee, people were always coming knocking on his door to ask for advice and things like that. And if he didn't want the conversation to go too long, he'd pull out a Chaitanya Charitamrita and say, let's read a little bit. And they say, I forgot, I got to go. But somebody who's very interested in hearing and someone who's qualified to speak, that's a combination where there's combustion, where there's actually a completion of the thought that goes very, very deep. So there's a description of this when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spoke to Rupa Goswami. It's written in the Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 19:138. The ocean of the transcendental mellows of devotional service is so big that no one can estimate its length and breadth. However, just to help you taste it, I'm describing but one drop. This was Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's statement to Rupa Goswami. He knew he was ready to hear. He had lobh or greed to hear about it. It's nice to have hunger. Anybody here likes to fast on Ekadashi? It's a good excuse not to eat on Ekadashi, because eating is a lot of trouble, in case you haven't noticed. But not eating is not a lot of trouble because you don't have to do anything. But one of the side benefits of fasting on Ekadashi is that the next day, at least speak for myself, I get really hungry. And I always appreciate after Ekadashi how hungry I am, because everything looks good. How about this? That's fantastic. That's the best lunch I ever had. Of course, I always say that anyway, but it really becomes augmented, the hunger. And when one's hungry to hear about Krishna consciousness, this is the actual main qualification. Jiva Goswami says, measure your hunger. How hungry are you to hear? That's how advanced you are in Krishna consciousness. There's an index. And your hunger is exactly equal to your your hunger to hear about Krishna is exactly equal to your advancement in Krishna consciousness. There's a problem with that, and that is the more you go on hearing, the more you want to hear, and the more you have to push other things out of the way. This is called the Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam. You think that sounds very sweet, but actually it's a problem. Because it's a problem for your material life. Because the more you become absorbed in hearing and chanting, and the more you develop a taste for it and become greedy for it, the less and less time you have for other things. This is kind of the way that we segue out of the material life anyway. It's not that we give it up, it's just that we don't have time for it anymore. This was Haridas Thakur's technique. He didn't have time for anything else. In fact, a local policeman was very envious of Haridas Thakur at Benapul, and he sent a local prostitute to try to make him fall down, to make a big scandal, out of envy. And the prostitute went there, and every night Haridas Thakur told her, I didn't finish my rounds yet. I'll see to you tomorrow night, you please come back. And she kept coming back for 3-4 nights, and then she became a devotee. But he just told her, I don't have time, I didn't finish my rounds. So those who are absorbed like this are in a safety zone. And out of the great ocean, he's describing one drop, but that one drop can drown the whole world. In fact, sometimes it's described how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was like the Niagara Falls. His exhibitions of ecstasy and everything that he taught was so voluminous and so hard to contain But the Goswamis, they made a little lake of his teachings. So you could actually drink from that lake. You can fill up your canteen and take it away and drink. For instance, in the Upadeshamrita, it's a little book. Can we have that? It's a little book, but it contains the essence of all advice that Rupa Goswami is giving, that he got from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That's a little, one of those clean canteens full of this nectar that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught that you can take away and you can drink from. This is the book. See, it's a small book. But he went out of his way. He wrote the Nectar of Devotion. He wrote, and then, which is voluminous. And then he wrote this summary of it, so you can take away a small drop. But the drop within you can live within that drop. So, after Rupa Goswami, who was a very qualified writer, great scholar and devotee, had taken instruction from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he took up the task of writing a devotional drama. And as he was writing the drama, he was traveling, and he was on his way to Jagannath Puri. And on the way there, he stopped in a small town in Orissa named Satyabhamapur. And there he had a dream. And Satyabhama, one of Krishna's queens, appeared to him in a dream and said, "You're writing a drama, one drama, but you need two dramas. You need a drama that's about Vrindavan, and you need one that's about my place in Dwarka." And then when Rupa Goswami arrived in Puri to meet Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Mahaprabhu told him spontaneously that Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. So don't have Vrajendra Nandana leave Vrindavan in your play. You need two separate plays. In other words, he was confirming what Satyabhama had told him in the dream. And this verse comes in the Antya-lila, where that is described, 167. The Krishna known as Yadu Kumar is Vasudeva Krishna. He is different from the Krishna who is the son of Nanda Maharaj. Yadu Kumar, Krishna manifests his pastimes in the cities of Mathura and Dwarka, but Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj, never at any time leaves Vrindavan. Vrindavanam parityaja, please repeat, Vrindavanam parityaja, swakwachin naiva gacchati. Krishna never leaves Vrindavan. So, who is Rupa Goswami? That becomes revealed in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. We sang earlier this song, Sri Rupa Manjari Pada. And I'll read the translation to it. This was written by Narottam Das Thakur, and he says, "The lotus feet of Sri Rupa Manjari, Rupa Goswami's eternal form as a gopi of Vraj, are my real wealth. They are the object of my devotional service and worship. They are the treasure of my heart, and they are my ornaments and the life of my life. For me, they are the reservoirs of all rasa and the conclusion of the religion of the Vedas. They are the fulfillment of all my desires and the goals of all my vows, my austerities, my religious activities, and the chanting of my mantra. By the power of those lotus feet, my activities will become favorable to devotion. I will achieve spiritual perfection, and with these two eyes I will be able to actually see. Both day and night, the exquisite beauty of Sri Rupa Manjari's divine lotus feet will shine like the beautiful full moon upon the lotus of my heart, soothing my afflicted soul. O Rupa Manjari, the venom of the snake of separation from you has enfeebled my soul, and now my life is ever afflicted and distressed. Alas, please have mercy and give me the shade of your lotus feet. Narottam Das has taken refuge." So in here, we're hearing that Rupa Goswami is actually one of the associates of Krishna in the spiritual world. Manjari means actually an assistant to Srimati Radharani. And Rupa Manjari is in this earthly Leela. He comes as Rupa Goswami, but in Vrindavan Leela, in the spiritual world, he's one of Srimati Radharani's serving maids, a Manjari, Sri Rupa Manjari. So, very specifically, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes to this world, he comes with his eternal associates. Krishna is coming to reveal his pastimes in the spiritual world. And who but the most internal and intimate devotees can bring that out and express what are the symptoms of love for God and the process for developing that. So, as Rupa Goswami met the other devotees in Jagannath Puri who were with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he began to reveal, or the other devotees could ascertain, his very internal relationship with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, at the Ratha Yatra at Jagannath Puri, those of you who have read the Chaitanya Charitamrita know about the Lord's dancing in ecstasy. And during his dancing at the Ratha Yatra, he recited a song that was well known at the time, just like some song you hear on the radio. Some people were wondering, why is he singing that song? And the song's recorded, this verse that he was repeating is mentioned in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's a secular song. That very personality who stole my heart during my youth is now again my master. These are the same moonlit nights of the month of Chaitra, the same fragrance of malati flowers is there, and the same sweet breezes are blowing for the Kadamba forest. In our intimate relationship, I am also the same lover, yet still my mind is not happy here. I'm eager to go back to that place on the bank of the Reva, under the Vitasi tree. That is my desire. So, Rupa Goswami heard Chaitanya Mahaprabhu repeating that verse. Some didn't know why he was repeating that verse, but Rupa Goswami, being Rupa Manjari, completely understood the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And therefore, he composed another verse. And you'll find this in the Antya Leela, that Rupa Goswami wrote the verse on a palm leaf, and then he stuck it in the thatch of his hut, and he went off to take bath in the sea. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came back and he found that verse, and the verse goes as follows, which is a verse in the play of Rupa Goswami spoken by Srimati Radharani. My dear friend, now I have met my very old and dear friend Krishna on this field of Kurukshetra. I am the same Radharani, and now we are meeting together. It is very pleasant, but still I would like to go to the bank of the Jamuna beneath the trees of the forest there. I wish to hear the vibration of his sweet flute playing the fifth note within that forest of Vrindavan. So this was a parallel verse, but very specifically mentioning the mood of Srimati Radharani wanting Krishna to come back to Vrindavan. So Rupa Goswami was completely understanding the mood of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at the Ratha Yatra, and he wrote that verse. When Mahaprabhu found the verse in his thatched roof, he took it out, read it, and when Rupa Goswami came back, he gave him a mild slap. He said, "How did you understand my mind? How did you know?" And there's a wonderful section in that Antya Leela, first chapter, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu introduces Rupa Goswami to Lord Nityananda, Advaita, Swarup Damodar, Ramananda Roy, and asks all these exalted devotees to bless Rupa Goswami. And even Swarup Damodar, Ramananda Roy, when they hear the poetry of Rupa Goswami, they can ascertain that he has received the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And they all take him into their fold. In the poetry of Rupa Goswami, he goes on to reveal the intimate details of the mood of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, why he came. And this famous verse, you'll find at the very beginning, it's one of the Mangalacharana verses in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita. May the Supreme Lord, who is known as the son of Srimati Shachi Devi, be transcendently situated in the innermost chambers of your heart. Resplendent with the radiance of molten gold, he's appeared in the age of Kali by his causeless mercy to bestow what no incarnation has ever offered before, the most sublime and radiant mellow of devotional service, the mellow of conjugal love. That was from Srila Rupa Goswami's Vidagdha Madhava. So, there was also an intimate relationship between Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami. You'll find that in Rupa Goswami's writings, for instance in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that he considers Sanatana Goswami his spiritual master. But of course, Rupa Goswami is considered the leader of the Sampradaya as Rupa Manjari. And Sanatana Goswami, in his Brihat Bhagavatamrita introduction, writes in his commentary that he's saying, one obtains his, Lord Chaitanya's complete mercy by meditating intensely on his all-attractive form, Priya Rupa, which is dressed in the saffron of a sannyasi, or Tat Priya Rupataha may refer to Sri Rupa Goswami. This is Gopi's commentary, but he's bringing out the words of Sanatana Goswami, the very dear servant of Lord Chaitanya and devotional co-worker of Sri Sanatan. Although Sri Rupa considered his elder brother Sanatan his spiritual master, here Srila Sanatan credits Rupa with helping him find his way on the path of prema bhakti. One can ascertain the essence of spiritual truth only by the kind mercy of the Supreme Lord and his pure devotees. So, we say in our pranam mantras, Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. This is a very important verse because, as I mentioned earlier, we're Rupa Nugas. We're following the footsteps of Rupa Goswami, who's Rupa Manjari. And this verse means that Manobishtam means Rupa Goswami understood the mind of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He understood his heart. And so the verse says, when will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? So, we're Rupa Nugas. We're following in the footsteps of Rupa Goswami because he's an intimate associate of not only Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Leela, but he's an intimate associate of Srimati Radharani. And by following in his footsteps, we're guaranteed of success. This is the process by which one attains success in devotional service, to become a Rupanuga, or the follower of Rupa Goswami. And Kavi Karnapur, who was a great poet, as his name indicates, also got special mercy from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu when he was a little child, writes, and this is listed in the Chaitanya Charitamrita 19:121. Indeed, Srila Rupa Goswami, whose dear friend was Swarup Damodar, was the exact replica of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and he was very, very dear to the Lord. Being the embodiment of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's ecstatic love, Rupa Goswami was naturally very beautiful. He very carefully followed the principles enunciated by the Lord, and he was a competent person to explain properly the pastimes of Lord Krishna. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu expanded his mercy to Srila Rupa Goswami just so that he could render service by writing transcendental literature. So this following of Rupa Goswami is described in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, in the commentaries especially by Srila Jiva Goswami and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. As I mentioned before, Anushilanam indicates that there's something to do in devotional service. Shil means there's a cultivation. And there's a cultivation both internally and externally. We externally follow Rupa Goswami by following the way he did sadhana bhakti in this world, in his pastimes with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago. What did he do? Well, he wrote books. Definitely wrote books. And he excavated holy places in Vrindavan. There was a kind of renaissance in Vrindavan. Nothing was there. It's the birthplace of Krishna. He performed his pastimes in the various forests there. It's all there in the scripture, but Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wanted it to come out to the world so everyone could see it. And he sent Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami to go there to excavate those holy places. It's a complicated time in India. There was Muslim influence, and there was, at the same time, a great impetus for kings to invest in Vrindavan because it was a real opulence for them to do so. If you were a real opulent king, you would have invested in one of the temples of Vrindavan. I mean, if you look at the temples that are built there, they're astounding. The ones that were built 500 years ago at the time of the Goswamis. The craftsmanship that was applied and just the grandeur of those buildings. Some of them have deteriorated a little bit, and some of them were even knocked down by Muslim invasions and so forth. But there were ways in which people would come, kings would come, they would invest, and they put some money into that. And the Goswamis were excavating and building these beautiful temples in Vrindavan. In essence, they were teaching Krishna consciousness to the world through their literatures and through their temples and so forth. And that takes a certain kind of work. So their sadhana is also mentioned. As I said earlier, I quoted Srinivasacharya, who wrote about how they practiced Nana Shastra Vicharanaika Nipano. And it's described that Sankhya Purvaka Nama Gananatabi, Kalavasani Kritao, that every day they were very careful to count their rounds, how many japas they chanted, how many books they read, how many times they bowed down, scheduled measurement, very carefully measured. So these kinds of activities come down to us through our disciplic succession, adjusted in such a way that we can follow. And that kind of sadhana that we perform every day is a way in which we're Rupanugas. We're following the footsteps of Srila Rupa Goswami, who prescribed these things in his books, and they've been made available to us through the disciplic line. So this kind of following of Rupa Goswami brings success in devotional service. And then there's a stage at which, by following the process of devotional service and hearing and chanting, one develops one's own internal life, not to be prematurely taken up or imitated, because it's something that develops naturally through the process of hearing and chanting and serving Krishna, through the disciplic succession. Coming down through our line, we find that all the great acharyas are Rupanugas. In the pranam mantra for Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, we say, Shri Bharshaba Navi Devi Dayataya Kripabdaye Krishna Sambandha Vijnana Dayini Pravave Namaha. So this name, which is Shri Bharshaba Navi Devi Dayataya, which means he's the servant of the lover of Srimati Radharani, which means Srila Rupa Goswami. And also we have, in the pranam mantras to Bhaktivinoda Thakur, similar, that he's the follower of Rupa Goswami. So How available is this? Teaching and following? Extremely available, starting with the nectar of instruction, the Upadeshamrita, and Rupa Goswami starts off with Vacho Vegam Manasakroda Vegam. Control your tongue. Start in the first place. Don't try to go above that, because he says, Priti Vimna Sishyat, that the masters of this world, who actually rules this world, he reveals, the senses do. You may think it's the IRS or the government or someone else. At all times there's some subjugation in this world, but Rupa Goswami teaches the rulers of this world are the senses. Vacho vegam manasakrota vegam jihva vegam udaropasta vegam etan vegam yo vishaheta dhira sarvamapibam pritivim nashisyad. And one who can learn to control the senses then becomes qualified to make disciples all over the world, because this is not an ordinary thing to be able to overcome the vegas, or the urges of the senses, beginning with the tongue. And he goes on in his instructions from the very basic all the way to the most esoteric and lofty ideas, describing in the final verses of the Upadeshamrita the gradations of the spiritual world, the various superiorities in the most superior place. There's perfect, more perfect, and most perfect in the spiritual world. And in the middle part of the Upadeshamrita, he gives very practical ways in which one can advance in devotional service. One of the most accessible and the most important verses, he gives a description of chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and that, he says, is like medicine for one who has jaundice. Syat Krishna nama charitari sitapta vidyapito patapta rasina narochikanu kintva anudam kalasaiva justa svadvikramad bhavati tad gadamulahantri. You can destroy the disease at the root by going on taking the medicine of chanting Hare Krishna, and gradually you'll come to cure the disease and taste the sweetness of the chanting. And in the next verse he says that by organizing your life around these principles that are given, for instance, in the Nectar Devotion I mentioned the 64 principles, 64 items of devotional service in the process of hearing and chanting. Tannamba rupa charitari sukirtananu smrityo kramena. Kramena means step by step. Rasana manasi niyoja tishtam vraje. You'll come to live in Vrindavan. Tishtam vraje. How? By following this process, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam in the association of devotees, chanting Hare Krishna, and worshipping the deity and so forth, all mentioned in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Tanama rupa charitaru sikirtananu. By discussing Krishna's name, fame, form, pastimes, etc. Charita adi sikirtananu smrityo kramena. You'll come to start remembering them. Smrityo kramena rasana manasi niyoja. You'll develop a taste for them. And tishtam vraje tananuragi. Then you'll become interested in Vrindavan. This is our goal. This Bhava Bhakti begins with the faith that there's something beyond the struggle for existence in this material world. Someone who's very fortunate who comes in contact with devotees can develop this faith. The Shastra says that by contact with devotees and by performing a gyata sukriti, unknown spiritual activities, then when there's an accumulation of that, faith awakens. Shraddha means that you feel some sympathy, you feel some impetus towards devotional service. Some people see devotional service, or they see, for instance, the Bhagavad Gita for the first time. Say, this is great, this is the best thing I ever read. I stayed up all night and read it. Or they see devotees chanting and they say, hey, I should be doing that. And other people just walk on by. But some have an accumulation of this sukriti in their heart, and they have a inclination towards devotional service, and therefore they they gravitate towards the association of devotees. They want sadhu sangha. This becomes the driving force for someone who develops faith in their heart. They want to have association with devotees. Sadhu sangha. From sadhu sangha, you'll notice when people get some association with devotees, then naturally they'll want to take up the practice of devotional service with a vow. They'll say, this is what I'm doing. Because it becomes so clear. If you sit in classes and you listen and you read the Bhagavad Gita and you begin the process of chanting and you're associating with devotees, pretty soon you can see the difference between the material activities and spiritual activities. Material activities seem paltry and they're enervating. They take away your energy and they become entangling. Whereas spiritual activity opens itself up to the devotee as the most interesting and compelling of all activities one could possibly want to do. That's why it's mentioned for the Goswamis, who are our examples, Tyaktva turnam ashesha mandalapati shrenim sadatu chavad. It says that even though they had everything everybody wants, generally, wealth, reputation, great learning, they walked away from it. In fact, it says tuchavat. Everyone say tuchavat. That means tuchavat. It's insignificant. They didn't even give it another thought. They just went. So as one associates with sadhus, one gets this feeling, oh, I want this more than anything. And then one can take up the process of devotional service, but with a vow. One takes initiation into the process of devotional service under a Vaishnav and begins to practice and say, I'm doing this. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to make progress. I'm going to move forward on this path. And then comes the process of anartha nivritti, which means that now there's a big fight. You get in the ring and you fight hard with the senses, because we're in so much proximity. We're in proximity with our enemies, and that is the mind and the senses. There are no other enemies, says Prahlad Maharaj, except the uncontrolled mind and senses in this world. You think this entity or that person? No, it's all internal. And when one takes up the strict process of devotional service, until you declare war, you're not going to know who your enemies are. But once you say, this is what I'm doing, they'll say, we are? No, wait a minute. I didn't agree to this. So then there's a struggle, and there are anarthas within the heart, unwanted things that have accumulated. And one has to go through the process of purification. By regularly hearing the Bhagavatam and rendering service to the pure devotees of the Lord, then gradually one becomes almost free. There's a point at which one begins to realize that I'm not being disturbed by these desires. Krishna describes in the Bhagavad Gita, apuryamanam achala pratishtam samudramapa pravashanti yadvad tavat kamayam pravashanti sarve sashantam apnoti nakama kami. Person becomes like an ocean into which there are innumerable rivers entering, but the ocean stays the same. So similarly, he said, a person who becomes steady may see that there are desires running through the mental system, but he or she doesn't become a kama-kami, which means no more chasing them. Not interested. They're not identifying with them anymore. And he or she doesn't change in position. So this comes, one can come to this stage of nishta. Although the desires are still there, the person becomes extremely strong mentally, fortified intellectually in devotional service, that's strong enough to resist these kinds of impulses, material desires. And after that comes ruchi, which is the safe side of devotional service, which means one has a positive taste. One would rather hearing and chanting than doing anything else. In fact, you have to drag the person away to from that activity to even think about doing these other kinds of worldly things. Ruchi actually develops within the heart of the devotee, positive taste. which comes about by following this process given by Rupa Goswami. It's a very specific and prescribed process, detailed process. And past that, Rupa Goswami goes on to describe what no one has ever described before, and this comes from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, which are the various levels of love for God. So there's a way in which Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami the stages that one will experience as one awakens love for God. And he describes ruchi, and then it comes to asakti, which means this attachment, and then bhava. So this bhava is a very momentous stage in the life of a sadhaka who's practicing devotional service. Chaitanya Charitamrita describes from Madhya 23:5, Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma Prema Suryamshu Samyabhak Ruchibis Chitta Vishrinya Krid Asao Bhava Uchite. When devotional service is executed on the transcendental platform of pure goodness, it is like a sun ray of love for Krishna. At such a time, devotional service causes the heart to be softened by various tastes, and one is then situated in bhava, emotion. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu describes the various symptoms, so you can know if you've caught this disease. Shantir avyarta kalatvam viraktir mana shunyata asha bandha samutkanta. This is Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya 23:18 through 19. Namagani sadaruchi asaktistad gunakyani prittistad visati stale ityadayo nubhavo sur jata bhavan kurejane. When the seed of ecstatic emotion for Krishna fructifies, the following 9 symptoms manifest in one's behavior: forgiveness, concern that time should not be wasted, detachment, absence of false prestige, hope, eagerness, a taste for chanting the holy name of the Lord, attachment to descriptions of the transcendental qualities of the Lord, and affection for those places where the Lord resides. That is a temple or holy place like Vrindavan. These are called anubhava, subordinate signs of ecstatic emotion. They are visible in a person in whose heart the seed of love of God has begun to fructify. So this first symptom, shantir, which means forgiveness, was manifested in Parikshit Maharaj when he was cursed by a Brahmin boy, a little tyke who just said, I cursed this guy. And it was an abomination that he did that, but the king forgave him, and he accepted the curse on his head. And he said, let the snake bird bite me. Whatever curses come, I accept it. I forgive this boy. And I just desire that all of you, and he's talking to all these Brahmins, go on chanting the holy names of the Lord and the pastimes. Just let me be absorbed. Avyarta kalatvam means one doesn't want to waste a second. So you can judge your advancement in devotional service by how much you're wasting time in other ways. And when there is no more time wasted, because one can't bear to waste a second outside of devotional service, because one realizes that there's a kind of greed. Just like Prabhupada used to give the example of sometimes business people. They become, if you ask them for an appointment, they'll say, I'll give you, first of all, you got to ask 20 times. And they say, listen, I'll give you 10 seconds. Like, why are you so busy? Because they got to make money. I mean, there's people that already have billions of dollars and they still got to make more money. So devotees who have this melting heart in devotion, they're like that, only for Krishna. They don't have any time. They're for anything else. Avyarta kalatvam. Then comes the symptoms viraktir manya shunyata. So viraktir means detachment from all other worldly things. No more interest. Lord Chaitanya describes this stage in the Shikshashtakam. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim kavitam vajagadisha hamaye. I have no interest in anything anymore. He does have an interest in something. Bhavatad bhaktir. He wants devotional service. He's greedy for it. But anything else, it's just no longer interesting. Viraktir mana shunyata. So no more false ego. Man means I'm really something. I consider myself great in so many ways. But a devotee, man shunyata, means he becomes free from that false ego and thinks that I'm the least qualified person on the planet. Even though simultaneously they're becoming more and more qualified. Then comes ashabhanda. There's this intense hope that Krishna will give his mercy. Samutkanta namagani sadaruchi. And then there's this attachment to chanting Krishna's names, a taste for it, and attachment to hearing about Krishna's qualities and to living in the holy Dham. So these are the symptoms of bhava. So I'm just giving a few details, but the science of devotional service is detailed completely in the teachings of Rupa Goswami in his Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And the emotions of the spiritual world and the activities of the spiritual world are all perfectly depicted in his writings and poetry, like Vidagdha Madhava. So, from the Madhya Lila 1871, spontaneous loving service to the Lord is called devotional service with an intimate attachment between the servitor and the served. This intimacy is called mamata. Between the servitor and the served, there is a feeling of oneness. This mamata begins with dasya prema, service rendered to the master by the servant. Unless there is such a relationship, the loving affairs between the Lord and his devotees are not actually fixed. When the devotee feels the Lord is my master and renders service unto him, Krishna consciousness is awakened. This fixed consciousness is on a higher platform than simple cognizance of love of Godhead. All glories to Rupa Goswami. Today is his disappearance day. So we're remembering him and his teachings and just having a sample and a refocus of his prominence in the lives of Gaudiya Vaishnavas, and that the processes we're following are prescribed by him, coming from Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Reflections. Anything that you heard so far that's stuck in your mind? Yes.
Dandavats Maharaj. The point that you mentioned that we can judge our advancement by seeing how much time we are spending on non-devotional service. That's a very good self-check. At least.
Yeah. Good self-check. And a question?
Yeah. You mentioned that this hearing process, actually it almost frees one from our material entanglement. I also read in the purports, Srila Prabhupada using this word almost. So is there some significance to that word almost? Is there something else?
Yeah, there's something else. But it's describing a progression. In the verses, these verses are from the second chapter of the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. The verse I'm referring to there when I said almost is Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Bhagavat Yutama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. This is describing an interim between the situation where one is full of anarthas, and as they're gradually becoming cleansed from one's heart, then one will notice, just like when you take medicine when you're sick, at first you can't tell what's happening. You just take it on faith from the doctor. It's like they said this stuff will work, and Aunt Mary said it'll work too. So she tried it. We'll keep taking it. And after 3 days, no difference. And then the fourth day, you think, maybe a little better. I can't tell exactly, but it seems like it. And then the next day, so yeah, I'm definitely improving. The next day, I'm half better. I'm partly there. So in the description of taking the medicine of Krishna Katha, there's these steps in which one that are identified. This is the beauty of the writings of Rupa Goswami and these acharyas. They're charting out for us the various stages at which we'll feel relief from the material affliction and attachment to Krishna. So there's a partway through. And then it goes on from there. That at one point, tada rajas tamo bhava kama lubadayaschaye cheta iter navidam stitam sattve prasidati. There's a point at which one begins to see for sure that no longer am I being pushed by the lower modes of nature. The rajas and tamas, which cause so much problem, they're gone. And then evam prasanna manaso bhagavad bhakti yogata bhagavad tattva vijnanam mukta sangha sichayate. Practically one becomes liberated and the mind becomes joyful and so forth. So these stages, everything is described throughout the Shastra and sages. You'll hear from Kapila Dev, for instance, in 3:25:25. He gives this description, which he says by hearing from the great devotees, that gradually, step by step, one comes to Shraddha, and then Rati, and then Bhakti. Then he says, Kramena, it's step by step. One feels these things. Yes.
Sorry, one question Sadha Mataji asked that in the starting of the lecture, in mind whether should I leave Mayapur or Vrindavan or both? In mind?
In the mind?
Where should I live, Mayapur or Vrindavan or both?
Well, it's individual, but some devotees live in Mayapur, some cultivate attachment to Vrindavan, and some cultivate attachment to both. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur describes in the Brahma Samhita how some devotees are dual citizens in Gaura Lila and Krishna Lila. And actually, there's no difference between the two dhams. There's no difference. And for close enough, you see Krishna and you keep looking closer and closer. You go, oh, Srimati Radharani has to be there. And there she is. And if you keep looking closer and closer at Radha and Krishna, and then you say, oh, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is there. You come out the other side. Because it has to be. Ontologically, that's all described in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, because there's the Ashraya and the Vishaya. And Radharani is enjoying more than Krishna, but Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. That's a problem. So to solve that problem, he comes as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to be the one who enjoys devotion, although he's Krishna himself, described as a great thief. He actually comes to steal what is rightfully Srimati Radharani's. So all this description in the Chaitanya Charitamrita by the Goswamis goes into the great detail of this ontology of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Radha and so forth. Yes?
In reflection, I like that when you mention that how sometimes some devotees are so fortunate that just by coming in contact with transcendental literature, they understood that this is and we all very fortunate that we know that you are that one soul that when you come in contact with Prabhupada books, you told that this is, and thank you for being that.
Thanks to Richie Corsa. I want to follow up a little more with Shraddha's question, and that is that we must approach Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to enter Vrindavan, actually, because he's the Vrindavan. by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then one can come to understand Radha and Krishna, not separately. Although in that process, some devotees are predisposed to Vrindavan and some are predisposed to Mayapur. Yes?
So I was thinking of the example that you gave about the Niagara Falls, about the heaviness of the instructions, the breadth of the instructions that Mahaprabhu gave, and it's so difficult to contain, and how Rupa Goswami made it into a lake so we can take it. And it's just because we hear from so many other philosophies also, where people like really give some high philosophical talks, but when it comes to practice at every moment what I should do, then we are left like nowhere. We are not going nowhere and we don't know what to do at every moment. But it's just talking. But as you showed the book Nectar of Instruction, the first verse, a living by itself, gives a practical instruction that we could do at every moment through our physical body. And it's not only that, how Rupa Goswami and our acharyas take us through the process, and then also we can understand how much progress we make, especially by reading the verse that you read in the end, that all those qualities that would develop in a person who submits to this process. So reading those qualities gives so much happiness to the heart. So which is also have so many living proofs in front of us. So which helps us to which increases our faith to submit ourselves to the instructions of Rupa Goswami. And so that's.
Yeah, it's helpful. Also, Krishna describes in his teaching to Uddhava that one must be qualified for bhakti, and that is, what is the qualification for bhakti? It's shraddha. You have to have faith in it. He says some people have an aversion to the material world, therefore their process is jnana. And that some people are very much overly attached to the material world, therefore their process is karma. But for someone who's not overly detached or attached to the material world, the process is bhakti, kind of the middle path. And also, bhakti resembles human activity more than anything else. What everyone's interested in the material world really is sensual enjoyment, and the pinnacle of that is male-female connection and so forth. That's all there in bhakti. It's the most sensuous, satisfying. I had this experience where once I visited the Dallas temple, which is a very opulent temple inside. It has murals on all the walls, and everything's very finely carved wood and marble everywhere. It's a very opulent place. I had been talking to some people philosophical persuasion, and I found it to be very dry. And my mind was agitated from talking to them. I was obligated to talk to them, actually. But I was talking to them, and their philosophy was very dry. And when I got into the temple room in the temple and I sat down, I've tried to describe the state I was in. I was trying to see Krishna consciousness through the eyes of these other people who I was trying to discuss Krishna consciousness with. And when I came to the Dallas temple, I walked in and tried to put myself in an objective position and say, what does it look like to somebody who walks in for the first time? And when I went in and looked, I thought, it was overwhelmingly sensuous. But for Krishna's senses, I was thinking, you don't get this kind. What am I talking about? The beautiful artwork. And then all day long, people are bringing the most delicately cooked foodstuffs to Krishna on trays and platters, and incense, and the best flowers, and these kinds of things. In other types of processes, shunyavadi, or even other processes of bhakti in the world, where people don't discuss the form of God. How do you do that? I mean, even in Catholicism, there's some, you walk little bit opulent. There are saints. When I was on my way here, there is an intersection. It was very crowded. I have to get through before I get on the 101 freeway. And there's one house. It must be in the most polluted area I can. Cars are always stopped there, ready to get on the freeway, and have this little house sitting right there, like it's always in the traffic, and the 101 freeway is going in. And they have, right on the outside of their house, a large imprint of Mary. You know, it's a religious figure. And when I looked over there, I thought, what a relief. And I was thinking, it looked really kind of upbeat and cheery. Then in the midst of all this Ugra karma, there was suddenly this beautiful picture of this saint. And minus that, you just have the material world and all the smog. And in many religious processes, there's no conception that God has any senses. And where do you go from there? What do you actually do for your life? How do you engage yourself? But in devotional service, there's a way in which our senses are completely absorbed in satisfying Krishna's senses. And for those who have a taste, who develop a taste for it, it's the higher taste. It's what everybody's actually trying to get in the material world but missing completely. It's like you go to somebody's house, they invite you for dinner, and then you hear the pots banging around back there and people moving, but they never actually bring you anything. And you're sitting out there it's awkward. You're thinking, am I going to get anything or not? And they never actually bring anything out. Just come out and talk to you a little more and say, what do you maybe smell something cooking, but they never bring you anything. Actually, that happened. One of the devotees was saying they went over to, it was somebody, they went to somebody's, it was some very famous chef or something like that. They heard they were vegetarians, so they went to the, and they brought them these little carrots, tiny little carrots. They put them on the plate, and they were thinking, is this it? Yeah, that's it. It's California cuisine, this is, and the material world's kind of like that. But you never get anything. But in Bhakti, you actually really begin to get the full sensual experience in serving Krishna. It becomes completely satisfying. Other reflections? Yes?
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaji, Dandhat Pranam.
1 second. Okay. Go ahead, and then we'll take Varshana. I think that was it. Varshana, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, Guru Maharaji. Guru Maharaji, one thing which has struck my mind is that you do your duty and wait for the opportunity to come. Lord makes the way to follow Krishna consciousness.
Yeah, that's a good word.
This is one thing which has really stuck in my heart, and I'm really waiting for the opportunity to come to me too.
Yeah, that'll work. You wait for the jailbreak, and then you go for it.
Thank you.
You'll get it.
Thank you, Guru Maharaji.
Okay. 4. Yes, please. And the microphone went up a little too much, so I got too much gain over here. Please go ahead.
I liked what you said about Tuchavad, that when you have association with pure devotees or senior devotees, then all these material things, unnecessary things, they become very insignificant. Like it becomes easy to put them aside and not even worry about them. When that association goes away, then they again probably influence you again. So I was thinking the importance of being in association with devotees.
I remember this back when in the movement in the 1970s. A lot of young people, and we would be out together either chanting or distributing books, and lots of people would look at us, able-bodied young Americans, and they say, why are you wasting your time? How are you doing this? Why are you doing this? They'd look at us like we were crazy. but they're on their way going to work to do some really boring job. And I was thinking, there is no happier place in the world. We get up early in the morning, and we're the only ones dancing to our heart's content at 4:30 in the morning. And then you're with all your friends taking prasadam. And then you get to work all day for Krishna. And you come back. I remember sometimes living in Chicago. We were in Evanston, Kishori. So opulent, the deity worship. Beautiful deities. And who gets to smell flowers in the morning and the evening and incense and things like that? In fact, sometimes I wear a garland. When I'm leaving Los Angeles, sometimes they give me a really opulent garland. And I wear it to the airport. My thing is, whoever asks about it first, garland. But people all the time, you go through security, you go, oh, well, that's wonderful. Where'd you get that? It's like, we get them all the time. Well, what do you? I don't know what kind of work you're doing, but you're really missing it. So devotional service has all the opulence. Yeah.
This is from. I'm substituting for Shraddha Mataji here.
Shraddha, very nice. Go ahead.
I'm
Substituting for Shraddha. Okay.
Because she usually reads the messages.
Oh, I see. So there's messages
users.
coming in from others.
Okay, this is from Keshava and Tara.
Oh, how nice.
Hare Krishna, we like the point of devotees. While being materially opulent, remain humble inside and thus attract Krishna. We often become afflicted by material things, so it becomes hard to keep Krishna in the center. Thank you for your amazing classes that remind us of Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thanks, Keshav and Tara. Great to hear from you. Yeah.
So Prabhuji, as you said, the time will come to do the jailbreak. But sometimes what happens is, even amongst the devotee circle, sometimes even if the jailbreak comes and somebody gives up everything and takes to Krishna consciousness completely, not everybody seems to appreciate that, because they think that you're an escapist or don't have a proper understanding or something like that. So, like how you say that being a sadhu can be a profession, right?
Well,
but not everybody
jailbreak may be a little extreme to say, but it's fun to say, so I like to say. But there's a way in which, even if you're not giving up everything, some people don't give up everything, but still the jailbreak comes. There's a turning point, and it's internal. As I mentioned before, our enemies are our own mind and senses. One who's absorbed in Krishna consciousness in any situation will have made the jailbreak, even living amidst the normal kind of circumstances, but becomes fixed in consciousness and is not disturbed. Brahmanyadaya karmani sangam tyatva karotiya lipyatena sapapena padma patram ivambasa. Krishna says in the Gita that do your work without being attached to the result, and you live like a lotus that's in the water but not touched by the water. And he said, lipyatena sapapena, you're not besmeared by sin, touched by it. And so the examples in Vrindavan, the gopis of Vrindavan, they lived in so-called normal circumstances and family members and so forth, even when the wives of the Brahmin who were performing sacrifices ran off to see Krishna in the forest when his cowherd boyfriends came and asked for food, and they dropped everything and they went out to the forest. And then they said, we just want to stay here. We'll just stay here and serve. We'll stay out of sight even, and we won't even bother you or anything. We just want to be here with you. And Krishna said, no, go back to your duty. And they said, but we already left, and don't worry, everything will be arranged for you. And they went back. Actually, they became, although they took up their duties, assisting their husbands who were performing all these sacrifices, they became exalted even in the eyes of their husbands and everybody else, because everyone could now understand their status as pure devotees. And it's not necessarily that the external circumstances will change that much, but that you run off, where are you going to go? Wherever you go, there you are, as they say. Buddhism. And there's this point at which internally, if you're actually attached to Krishna and hearing and chanting, if you're satisfied by hearing and chanting, and you realize that you don't need anything else, you're free, because you don't have any more stake in the game. The problem is I'm trying to have a stake in the material world. That's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is describing this position. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim kavitam. I don't want anything anymore. This world that's ruled by the Paramatma and everything like that, he's got him. I'm moving on from this entire realm. It's an internal jailbreak. Because somebody may break externally and then have to come back. But internally, once you've developed that taste for Krishna Katha, then you're free. Harivamsha.
Thank you, Maharaj, for a wonderful class. I like 2 points. One was especially the glorification of Rupa Goswami and what all he has done. Because, any limb we think in ISKCON, you can directly trace it that Rupa Goswami originated it. Deity worships, in fact, even book distribution, because he trained Jiva Goswami, who trained Srinivasa Acharya, who did book distribution. So every aspect, and I was just reflecting that such magnitude of gratitude should be, because in Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu at 2 times directly tells all the devotee that Rupa has gotten all my mercy, and you please bless him so that he encapsulates all the main tenets of bhakti into his writings. So that is so special. So thank you for bringing that. Actually, I'm grateful. Govind Charan Prabhu told me you should come to temple. I completely forgot about this occasion, so I'm grateful to him. And the second point
Thanks, Govinda.
Thank you. You mentioned about the mind, that the enemy is actually mind and senses. And that's why we see how Yudhishthira was called a Jat Shatru. He was nobody's enemy, because he was in that consciousness. And I just heard one beautiful thing this morning when Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Maharaj would say, mind is a non-devotee. So be careful. So it's like living with a non-devotee 24 hours.
Yeah, we hear more about that in the Bhagavatam on Balaram's appearance day. It's mentioned how the situation that Vasudeva and Devaki were in, which was precarious, within the clutches of Jai Shri Shri Radhaman Madan Mohanji Ki Jai. Well, that was auspicious. Anyway, to be continued. We're going to have the Jhulan Yatra, which means we're going to swing the Lord, which is a very esoteric pastime that Prabhupada's given us. In fact, when devotees were asking Prabhupada what other festivals we could do besides Ratha Yatra, he mentioned Jhulan. I was thinking it would make a nice public festival sometime, since he said we could do that gigantic swing in a park, and then people could come out and see the Lord swinging with all kinds of beautiful flowers and everything like that. It'd be kind of nice. One more message, yes.
This message is from Shukeshwari Mataji. Hare Krishna Prabhuji, very nice class. Really like the point of connecting to Krishna through Lord Chaitanya. I have a question. Prabhuji, how long does it take to get to the situation of Nadana Janam? I feel I go up and down forever.
First do Trinadapi Sunichena. The practice is to keep oneself lower than the straw on the street, being ready to give all respects to others, not take respect for oneself, and to be tolerant like a tree. Those are things that are to be practiced. And by doing that, the system of hearing and chanting becomes highly effective. As Lord Chaitanya says, Kirtaniya Sadahari. You can go on chanting constantly. maintain these things. And it's recommended in the Chaitanya Charitamrita that one make a garland of this verse, or a necklace. They're jewels, and you have to string them and put them around your neck. So it's a very conscious practice doing these things. So don't worry so much about nadanam najanam nasundarim, but do practice trinadapi sunichena toror api sahishnuna. And by doing that, then, and going on with hearing and chanting, naturally the impetus to hear about Krishna, the winnowing away of material desires will come automatically. Vasudevi Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita Janaya Yashu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayara Haitukam. By directly serving Krishna in that way, then naturally one gets knowledge and detachment from the world. Srila Rupa Goswami ki jai. The followers of Rupa Goswami ki jai. Rupa Nugas ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. And now we're going to have the Kirtan, accompanied by Julian Yatra, Artik, everything going on at the same time, so we can put away the asanas.